Peace and bliss, peace and bliss, peace and bliss. I have to tell you this. Welcome, tribe. Peace and bliss to all of you all on this very, very beautiful present moment. How are we doing? How are we doing? How are we doing? Peace and bliss. So grateful that I could be here to tell you this. Another day, another opportunity to share love, to share gratitude, to share accomplishment, achievement, abundance, bliss, taking another step towards the greatest version of ourselves. Please say hello as you guys are entering. Noah, peace and bliss to you, King. I'm very happy to be doing this message today. I actually just got insight on doing it maybe about 30 minutes ago. And so I just started setting up to be able to channel this message to the collective consciousness. Peace and bliss to you, Hermit. I'm going to spend a moment sharing this video out, letting a few people join. My battery's only on 20%, so I'm gonna try to keep the message, as condensed but as efficient as possible. And I'll keep talking until my phone dies. Darius, peace and bliss. Ashley, peace and bliss. Yeah, so give me like 2 minutes or so to share the video out. Let me know how you guys are digging this music. So, Spirit's really calling for me to really break down the ego in its purest substance so that we can make this transition that the universe has been waiting for us to make, so that the light within us is shining in the right places of the body, so that light can actually be in the entire body. And so the ego plays a very, very pivotal role in how light travels. In order for light to travel, it must have a container. Peace and bliss, Juan, Sean, Francis, Shafik, peace and bliss to you, Queen. Andy, peace and bliss to you, brother. Ashley, Quavo, what's going on, King? Carrie, peace and bliss to all you guys coming in. So yeah, the ego plays a very, very pivotal role in how light travels. And this is key, that you can connect this to any type of ideology, because it's true. So you can if no matter what background you're coming from on what you believe, whether it's Jesus, God, Allah, Buddha, whatever it is, that light, that truth that is known to believe, that you believe as your truth, in order for that to travel from place to place, it needs a container. So when we're identifying where our purpose is and where our role is on this planet, we're identifying our ego. We're identifying how the light will travel in this world to reach the places and people that it actually needs to reach. And a lot of times, I remember back when I had so much judgment towards the ego. I remember when I looked at, what I thought was evil and what I thought was like making the world worse and making the world destructive. And I was so judgmental on myself. Because remember, everything is a reflection of us. So those aspects of myself I was judging. And so as I began to move through that, I began to realize that everything was the exact way that it needed to be, which was perfect. Everything was exactly the way that it needed to be. I just had to learn how to accept that so that I can then see why everything in this construct that's happening right now is perfect. Everything is perfect. The reason why you see so many problems is because you also have the solution. So it had to be perfect in order for everything to fit perfectly in its place. So when I realized that, I realized that this life, this experience is really an experiment. And when we realize that it's an experiment, we began to look at it without judgment. When we realize that every single person on this planet, every single person that you look at as good or bad, or someone who's, not running our country right, who is running our country right, whenever you look at those people, you have to realize that that person is doing the best that they can. That person is literally using the same algorithm towards life that you're trying to use, or you're trying to figure out what the best decision is based on what it's trying to accomplish in his life. And so it's just a matter of us being able to identify and being able to see things without judgment enough to properly identify our role in this system. And that's what the ego does. For myself, I just recently posted a freestyle of a song that I was working on. And so it's interesting. A lot of people ask me why I have 2 pages. I have my Darryl Garth page and I have my Pharoh Tahar page. Peace and bliss to you, Anna. Peace and bliss, Audrey. Catherine, hello. Ashley Smith says, I am so judgmental of myself, but I need to love myself in a whole for who I am. We have to love ourselves for who we are. We have to love this planet for what it is. Because it's like until we are able to love and accept all of it, we're never seeing the full picture. And, it's so interesting because, and this is kind of tying back to the story that I was about to tell of the freestyle that I just recently posted on my page. Maybe some of you have seen it, some of you have not. And the reason why I have 2 pages is because each page represents my energy. Darryl is the part of me that a lot of people who know me as Pharoh, a lot of people don't know who Darryl is. But it's a whole nother identity. And I'm doing this for a reason, because let me share this video out because I still haven't shared it out yet. But the reason being is because there was a version of me that a lot of people don't know. Like the version of me that had 32 jobs. The version of me that had my own life insurance company. The version of me that made over $80,000 in cryptocurrency. The version of me that was in corporate America and just wanted to make money. And there was a hustler and that was very good at making money. The version of me that was hiring men 3 to 4 times my age to work under me. I was in a space where trap music was everything for me. Growing up as a child, gangster music is what kept me thriving. Because it's so interesting that for people who don't understand music, or especially understand the type of music that I grew up around, it's like a language, a poetic language that is an art to a large group of people. It's art to a very, very large group of people. Because they're able to remove their judgment from the actual content and focus purely on the art. Almost like an Edgar Allan Poe, where you can look at something for being dark and say, oh my God, that's genius. And I feel that there was a time in my life that was very, very hard for me to integrate. But then when I made that hump over, I was able to, again, to see the entire picture. I was able to see the entire art piece now. Because I was able to integrate my ego with my light to create this balanced version of me that can now see the entire picture. And I really want to touch on that. Give me 1 second. I guess I'll let that sink in for a second. Please use this time to share the video out. I'm very curious in your comments. Anna says, good morning. How are you on this beautiful day? I am so very well. Andrada, peace and bliss to you. Susanna. Catherine says, you are so easy to understand. Love you, dear friend. I love you too, Catherine. Mwah. Ashley, why can I see things in others and not judge them for it? Because I have so much empathy for them, but I am so fucking hard on myself. Ashley, I think the being hard on yourself is normal as someone who is like a teacher. I think teachers are oftentimes very hard on themselves because they want their children, they want their students to get it so hard that every time the students don't get it, the teacher automatically wants to take the blame for it every time. And that's how I feel. I am extremely hard on myself. Every single time, you know, someone gets mad at me. There we go. I take it as me not being able to communicate my message well enough. And I always look at how I could have communicated something better. And so that's what keeps us going. That's what keeps us growing. But on the flip side of that, we have to be able to detach ourselves from it, to be able to allow the students and the children to be accountable for their growth as well. And so being able to go through that dance is what keeps us from being able to always have to be hard on ourselves. We can keep challenging ourselves to learn how different ways to communicate and to help spread our light, you know, but then we also have to get to a point before it gets too overdraining to allow them to actually have to do the work to actually increase their vibration to where they can hear the frequency that our love is being spoken on. Hope that makes sense. All right, I gotta figure out a more efficient way to share videos out because I love when I get into a flow and I don't like for it to be broken. So, what is the ego? The ego, in my opinion, is our container. It is the thing that allows us to move in dark spaces. A lot of us are entering into this space of stagnation because we're afraid of going into our ego. We're afraid of going back to those dark places that we used to judge so much. And that's our work. Because your light is the solution. Your love is the solution. So how do you get your solution to the darkness? That's the question. How does light get to darkness? It needs a container made of darkness. So we learn to build this ego container. And we say, look, the stronger we build our ego container, the further in the darkness we can go. So, you know, there are a lot of my friends in like that spiritual community who don't want to go into those dark places. And that's 100% okay. You're totally entitled to do that. This is your experience. You can create whatever life you want. But there are some people that love so much that when they see people in the deepest, darkest of places, they go and get them. And so when they see how deep the people are in the darkness they build a container that gets just as dark so they can go into those dark spaces with their light. And that's our choice too. What we don't want to do is we don't want to judge people for their light and their dark, because you don't know what type of mission they're on. You know, there are so many times in my life where I was the evil person to somebody. I was their villain. Past relationships, past friendships, I was the villain. But in a lot of people's lives, I'm sort of a hero. I'm sort of the good guy, you know, the person that people look to when they're looking for certain guidance. So it's like, which one is true about me? And could be both. Actually, it probably is both. But it's only until you accept both sides of me that you get to see all of me. You know, my goal is to one day not need my Darryl and Pharoh page. But there are two different energies separating those pages. There's a group of my friends that are purely still in corporate America. And, you know, they don't want to hear about frequencies, tones, and vibrations and love and light all the time because they have other stuff that they're worried about. That's totally fine. Half of me understands that 100% because half of me is like that. And then I have this other side of me that only wants to play and wants to just spread that love of playfulness to the entire world and wants to liberate the entire world from taking life too serious and remembering that we're here to play. It's so interesting because both sides judge the opposite version of me so harshly. Francisco, peace and bliss to you, brother. Says totality, absolutely. And totality is a big concept because a lot of people say it, but it's very hard to embody it. It's very, very hard to embody totality. We've got so many programs. It's like it's easy to embody wholeness until you're triggered. Then the thing triggers you is something that has to be away from you. Right? And that's the dance. That's that paradoxical dance. Right? But then it's also realizing that just because something needs to be away from you doesn't mean that you're separated from it. Catherine said, I must say you are the most handsomest man I've ever seen, and such a beautiful soul with so much love in your heart to give. Your light shines so bright for others who walk in dark. You are truly amazing. Wow, Catherine, you have no idea how warm that just made me feel inside. I'm so happy that I'm able to reflect the beauty that's inside of you that you're able to see in me. Ashley says, balance is literally the word coming to me in my meditations for the past months. Yes, it resonates. Awesome. I'm glad this resonates for you all. So, you know, me personally, I can only speak on myself. You know, my mission is to... So I'm preparing this party, celebration, and everyone's invited. And so I am having to go out and invite everyone. But in order to be able to invite everyone, I have to have access to all realms, all vibrations, high and low. So I'm building my containers that enable me to go into those realms. Some of them have different names. That is okay. It's actually recommended. And so I'm going to everyone. You know, a lot of people are helping with this party that we're planning for this whole planet. And certain people don't have to go as dark. They don't have to go into the dark as much. That's okay. I'm learning not to judge people who refuse to do the shadow work. There are some people who just don't do shadow work. That's fine. You can stay in the light. And there are certain people who don't want to do the light work. They just want to continue to do the same mundane job every day, and they're happy with that. Cool. But there are some people who want to start integrating both sides, whether 50% one, 50% the other, whether 60%, 40%, whether 80%, 20%. For those people, those are the people that I'm having to go out and collect and show them how to go between worlds. So I'm inviting everyone to this party, and so everyone has a role in this party. And it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful celebration. I don't want to give too much away ahead of time. But our ego is what enables us to collect the party favors. The ego is what allows us to connect the resources that we need to prepare for the party. Again, the deeper we go into that darkness, the greater access of resources we have the potential to collect. That goes for people. That goes for finances. That goes for resources. That goes towards housing. Your ego is what wants to be satisfied. It's like, I often use the time, Chase, peace and bliss. Leela says, love you. I love you too, Queen. Let's see. Yasmin, peace and bliss to you. Awesome. So, I oftentimes use the reference of a movie to really help drive home this picture, because this life really is a movie for us. And battery's on 10%. Cool. Got 10% battery left to talk to you guys. And so it's like when we are realizing that our ego is like being the character in the movie, it's like you have to, in order for you to make the best movie, you have to go deep, deep, deep into your character. Even though when the director says cut, you guys are all the same. Everyone's playing the same role, just trying to create this experience. So, there are certain people who choose to not be on camera. There are certain people who just want to hold the camera and be in the light. They don't want to actually be in that space. That's fine. And then there are certain people who just want to watch the movie. That's fine. But for the people who want to participate in the experience, we're the ones that are having to learn to transition between the light and our dark. And through balance, we create abundance. Through balance, we create heaven on earth. We have to combine the upper realms and the lower realms to create heaven on earth. So what happens when you go into your light to realize that your job is to anchor heaven on earth? You have to go tell everyone that it's time to anchor in heaven on earth, which means you have to go to where everyone is, including that person who's in the darkest of the dark, and say, hey, I just want to let you know this party's, happening and you're invited. And that's what our mission is. That's all it is. By the time this earth is completely healed, people will be seeing how this party is unfolding, and people will be seeing the beautiful nature of the experience and the celebration and the dance and the joy and the happiness and the abundance that we're anchoring in right now. We will completely balance unification and individualism. Fifth dimensional consciousness. Fifth dimensional reality, where time and space become one. Because the more we come together, the more we see what's always been there. The more we come together, the issues that we thought were issues become solutions easier. And this is a perfect example of this. So I'm from the South. I traveled a lot in the South. And there are a lot of things in the South that are issues that people are trying to solve. You know, a lot of ways like that certain education systems are ran, financial systems, sustainable waste, waste management, right? A lot of these solutions that I see, right? Well, I moved to Portland 4 or 5 months ago, something like that. And there are so many things that are issues in Atlanta and the places where I kind of grew up at that are solutions already here. Like there are a group of people living here that have no idea of the issues that are still issues in the South. So I want you to think about this for a second, because I want you to see how easy the solution is for a unified, healed world, and then see how close we actually are to it. Because literally, you can have someone in the South who grew up in the South their entire life, and they're thinking this is how life is. Because that's what we always do. We project. So when something is bad in our life, we automatically assume that it's bad everywhere else on the planet for that same thing. And so we could be thinking that our life just has to be this way, when literally 3 states up, the solution's there. The resources are there. The systems are there. They're already doing it. We're already doing. Portland is one of the most conscious cities I've ever experienced as far as how they handle all of their systems. And it's like there are places in the country who are still struggling to try to figure out solutions for this. And so this is the reason why the only real solution is unification. Because when we realize that all we have to do is come together, the reason why things are issues is because we're not together. Hi, Kiana. Peace and bliss. The only reason why we struggle is because we're not together. Or the only reason why the struggle is such a struggle is because we're not together. Because we're too busy judging. People in their ego are judging the light, calling them crazy, calling them unrealistic. People in the dark, in their light, are judging the dark, saying they're bad and they're the problem. And that's the problem. So, I've got my homework. I've got my work. I know my mission. I know my assignment. What's your mission? Who are you going to save? What system are you going into? What's your mission? What's your purpose? And here's the thing. Your purpose is more than love and light. Your purpose is more than helping people. It's more than that. It's so much more than that. But you have to allow your ego to customize that for you. You have to allow the selfish aspects of you to customize it for you. Your light is depending on your ego. Truly. Your light needs your ego to figure this shit out. But you have to stop judging it. You have to allow it to be able to speak freely so that it can be heard and processed so that it knows where it needs to fit into the system. You know, it's like the people who judge, the people that they don't necessarily agree with, the people who judge, the people who are like in the ego and the people who are in those shadow realms, that same energy of judgment is the same energy that makes a parent want to reject their child for being gay. Or the Christian family want to reject their child because they don't believe the same thing as them. It's that same vibration of rejection that carries those systems on. And so just because people found their light or they found their ego doesn't mean that they're at the destination if they're just going to reject the side they just came from. There are so many people that grew up in the darkness and then found the light and then reject the darkness. And then there are people who grew up in their light, learn boundaries, learn how to actually acquire wealth, and they judge, the hippies or that higher vibration thought form of unified consciousness. My battery is empty and it will shut off in 20 seconds. Okay, so I love you guys. I like you guys.